Hey witches, welcome back to the channel. Once again, this is Hecate, Witch of the Realms. For this video, I wanted to go ahead and answer comments asking to basically list some of the spirits that can help you with necromantic witchcraft and necromancy. I'm just going to go over some of the spirits that I have personally worked with and that I have found to be the most beneficial and helpful in doing necromantic witchcraft and necromancy. There's also going to be other magical tools that I will list as well in this video that will help you to facilitate these practices and to have help with the process. So the first spirit that we're going to talk about is from the Goetia, and this is the spirit Murmur. Murmur is the 54th spirit, also known as Murmux or Murmux. He is a great duke and an earl, and appears in the form of a warrior riding upon a griffin, with a ducal crown upon his head. There do go before him those his ministers, with great trumpets sounding. Did you guys just hear my door pop? His office is to teach philosophy perfectly, and to constrain souls deceased to come before the exorcist to answer those questions which he may wish to put to them. So that's the part right there, binding and constraining souls of the dead and escorting them to you so that you can interact with them. His presence, his influence, his power also will make those spirits tell you the truth. So that's an important part of this, and why I also recommended Murmur to be one of the spirits that you guys work with in my last necromancy video. Definitely Murmur is one of the top spirits to work with that will help you to become better at necromancy and will just help you with your necromantic work in general. He was partly of the Order of Thrones and partly of that of angels. He now rules 30 legions of spirits, and his seal is this. It's also important to note that many of these Goetic demons, these spirits, they rule over different numbers of other spirits that are lesser and under their control. So they rule legions, however many legions of other spirits. So when you call on some of these Goetic demons, they may or may not show up themselves personally. Sometimes they send emissaries. They send some of the spirits that are under their control to be actually the one that's interacting with you. So that is something I don't see many people mention when it comes to working with Goetic demons, but that is something that I have noticed. Similar to working with goddess Hecate or any of the other deities, sometimes they don't themselves come to you when you call on them. Sometimes they send a spirit that's under their control to you. And if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense, because imagine how many people are calling on these spirits, these key spirits, these gods like Hecate, or a specific demon like Murmur. They're not going to be able to come to every single person all at once. So many times they do send spirits that are under their control to act on their behalf. That is something that I have found to be very real and true, and you may experience that. So don't be alarmed if you notice anything like this, or don't feel like, you know, you have been ignored or anything, or that they're viewing working with you as something that they're not invested in. Just the fact that they are sending someone to you is a good sign, actually, if anything. So definitely Murmur is one of the spirits that I recommend. And of course, when you work with the Goetia, you can follow the exact instructions that are in the book, like all of the different rituals and rites, the preliminary rituals, the preparations, the actual conjurations that you use and everything. All of the instructions for that are in this book. And you can find free copies of this book online to just read it PDF form online as well. I'll actually try to link that below in the description box. But you can find really affordable copies of this book as well. Personally, I don't though. I do not follow the exact instructions from this book. I kind of do my own thing when I conjure spirits and I create. However, as I'm saying that though, I'm a very well-seasoned witch. I'm very practiced. I know what I'm doing. So I often create my own rituals because I know the steps that need to be there. So if you're a beginner, I would say follow the book's instructions or follow some other set of instructions that you have found from someone who knows what they're talking about and someone who knows what they're doing. But if you're someone that's more advanced in your practices and you're sure of yourself and you know the steps that you need to take, then you can feel free to create your own rituals and just utilize like the seal of these different spirits and things in a ritual that you will fabricate yourself. So that's my note on that. But definitely, yes, Murmur is one of the spirits that I have personally worked with and has helped me with my necromancy and necromantic witchcraft. So that's number one. Number two, by the way, these are not in any particular order as far as which spirit's most helpful or anything like that. All of these spirits can help you, and your relationship with them is going to be something that you need to develop and work on yourself. So I can't predict for you which spirit relationship is going to be best for you personally, but that sort of is also why I'm listing many spirits, so that you can find one at least that will help you and work with you the best, right? So number two, we're going to talk about Maman Brigitte. This is a voodoo spirit. She is a spirit who rules over the dead and over cemeteries. Also has connections with fire energy as well. She's sometimes associated with Saint Bridget or Saint Brede, or even the Celtic goddess Bridget or Brede, who was also associated with the saint. So there's connections with that fire element through that as well. But definitely Maman Brigitte is one of the spirits that I have personally worked with that has helped me greatly with, I would want to say, not necessarily necromancy, divination with the dead or speaking with them in a mediumistic aspect, but she has helped me with necromantic witchcraft, like casting spells with the dead and doing magic with the souls of the dead as helping spirits. That has been what I have experienced with her. Her associated colors are purple, green, and red. Her symbol, her veve, is this. If that can't be seen well enough, I'll just put up an image of it on the video for you guys. I've done some workings with her. I could also insert some pictures of the workings that I did. You need to be very respectful when you're working with her. In particular, she is very fiery. You just want to be very respectful when you're working with her. I'll say it like that. Take that into consideration if you're considering working with her for your necromantic magic. The next spirit, in the same vein, we're going to talk about Baron Samedi. This is another voodoo spirit who rules over death and the spirits of the dead. His associations: the color black, the color white, and Saturday is his day as well. The energies of death, the end of the week, the end of life, you know, that energy. Saturday is ruled by Saturn, the Lord of Death as well. So there's different connections with that. But basically, Baron Samedi is one of those spirits that is a ruler of the dead and of death energy in and of itself. And he can greatly help you with this type of work. Once again, I will say, when it comes to the spirit, be very respectful. You do want to give proper offerings and all of that as well when you're working with any spirit, but in particular with Maman Brigitte and with Baron Samedi, you want to be very respectful and cautious, because these spirits can easily become angered if you disrespect them, or if you disrespect the work that you're doing, if you disrespect the dead even that you're working with through them. they can become angry. Baron Samedi is also known as the supreme lawyer. He's known as a sort of a judge spirit. So be careful that you do not transgress anything when you're working with him as well. So just wanted to include that note for you guys. The next spirit that we will mention here is Santa Muerte. I worked with her a lot before I really started heavily working with Hecate. I worked with Santa Muerte a lot. I still have over the years continued to work with her, but not as much as Hecate nowadays. But Santa Muerte is one of those spirits that is, once again, a goddess of death and the dead, and very much can connect you with the souls of the dead to help you facilitate your necromancy and your necromantic magic. Santa Muerte is a little bit more forgiving. I know there's some sort of stigma that people think that she's very harsh. And don't get me wrong, she can be. She can be very much in that fiery energy like I was talking about with the voodoo spirits. However, I feel like she's a little bit more nurturing. She's a little bit more of that mother goddess energy in a sense, and can be more gentle. There's a more gentle side to her that you can appeal to, and that she's more lenient and willing to be in that energy with you, if you're respectful, of course. Once you disrespect her or something, then definitely she'll go into that fiery energy. But you don't have to be as intimidated with working with her from the onset, as I would recommend more cautious approach to Maman Brigitte and Baron Samedi. You can approach Santa Muerte more, not having to be so intimidated, and a little bit more easygoing. But even though I say that, I still want to make sure that I emphasize you do want to be respectful though at the same time. Do not transgress her or disrespect her in any way, because she's very swift in dealing out retribution. And once again, that goes for disrespecting her or disrespecting the dead that you're working with through her. The colors that most people associate with Santa Muerte are black, gold, silver, and white. However, there is different forms of Santa Muerte. There's the white Santa Muerte, the black Santa Muerte, the silver, the red, the purple, the blue. You can look more into those different things yourself. Right here in this video, I'm just going over a basic list to get you started, but this is one of the spirits that you want to look into as well when it comes to working with the dead and getting better at your necromantic witchcraft. Of course, I would be remiss if I did not say in this video, Hecate. Hecate is also a ruler of death and of the dead. So is the god Hades, Pluto. These are spirits that you could also work with along the lines of the Greek pantheon and Roman, if you want to go that route. I really didn't want to include Hades and Pluto in this because I do feel that they're more so the type of spirits that won't necessarily come to you personally one-on-one. They will more than likely send an emissary, if anything at all. I feel like they're much more distant type spirits. They're rulers of the dead. They dwell in the underworld itself. They're not necessarily the type of spirits that come to the earth realm often, if at all. So Hades and Pluto, those would be something I would say maybe you just want to make an altar to them, honor them, you know, things like that. But I don't necessarily think that they will be that great of a help in your necromancy and your necromantic witchcraft. The other spirits that I have mentioned very much come to the earth realm, if not dwelling here all the time. So they're much more present and much more stronger connections to help you as well. But of course, Goddess Hecate as well very much travels the realms frequently and often. So she's much more of a better spirit as far as the Greek and the Roman pantheon to help you connect with the dead. She is a very nurturing goddess. She's very much open to working with people, but she can also be very judgmental and harsh as well if you're doing things wrong, if you're disrespecting, anything like that, once again. And she very much has standards for the type of people that she works with as well, just in general. Not even just talking about working with necromancy, working with the dead with her, but she has standards for working with anyone in general. So that's something to consider as well if you're thinking about working with her. But that's also kind of why I didn't want to include her on this list of the top spirits to work with. She's much more in a niche as far as working with people in general. Now, the next few things I'm going to mention here are not necessarily spirits, but they are something that I would consider to be of great help with working with the dead. So these are all going to be from the Greater Key of Solomon, or just the Key of Solomon. We're going to be talking about some different pentacles, seals that are used from this book that can help you to facilitate these practices. So first we're going to mention the Fifth Pentacle of Jupiter. So as far as this actual pentacle, it's this one here. The Fifth Pinnacle of Jupiter. This has great power. It serves for assured visions. Jacob, being armed with this pentacle, beheld the ladder which reached into heaven. Notes: the Hebrew letters within this pinnacle are taken from the 5 last words of the versicle which surrounds it, each of which contains 5 letters. These are then recombined so as to form certain mystical names. The versicle is taken from Ezekiel. As I was among the captives by the river of Chabar, the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of Elohim. I'm including this pinnacle because it helps you to develop your clairvoyance, your psychic vision, your ability to see these beings with your mind's eye, with your visualization applied to your psychic perception. So definitely this is one of those tools that you should use if you don't have a strong developed psychic vision. Then working with the dead and trying to work with the dead isn't really going to serve you well if you can't even really see what you're interacting with. So you definitely want to develop your psychic vision, if you don't already, along with working with the dead and developing these other spiritual relationships in these practices. So that's why I'm including this. It's something that can actually greatly help you to further develop your clairvoyance. Even if you already do have a developed psychic vision, using this pentacle can also help you to further develop it even more and get even that much more precise with your psychic abilities. And once again, the Key of Solomon gives you the instructions how you create these in the proper way. So there's that. If you are a beginner, I would say follow these instructions to a T from the book. But if you are an advanced witch, if you're well knowledged in making seals and sigils, then you could just take the seal itself and devise your own ritual with the proper steps for creating such a thing. That's what I do. The next pentacle we're going to mention is the Fourth Pinnacle of the Sun. The Fourth Pinnacle of the Sun. This serves to enable thee to see the spirits when they appear invisible unto those who invoke them, because when you uncover it, they will immediately appear visible. The editor's note: the names Yahweh, Adonai are written in the center in Hebrew, and around the seal and the mystical characters Passing of the River, which is a magical alphabet. It's called Passing of the River. The versicle is from Psalm: lighten mine eyes, that I sleep not in death, lest mine enemies say, I have prevailed against him. But yes, this will help you to see the spirits that appear invisible when you invoke them. So once again, this is for helping to develop and strengthen your psychic vision. Sometimes these spirits will appear. My closet just made a sound. Sometimes working with different spirits like this is just not the easiest thing. They can appear invisible Once again, for example, they may not always appear in some form that you can physically perceive. Sometimes they just show up in their spirit form. They expect you to be able to interact with them psychically, clairvoyantly. In fact, I would argue that that is 95%. That's how they will come. And it's very rarely that they will actually manifest physically in some way. So it's very important when you're doing any type of spirit work that you have your psychic vision and your clairvoyance and your psychic perception developed, and you're able to actually perceive these spirits in these ways. But the next seal that we're going to talk about is the Fifth Pinnacle of the Moon, once again from the Key of Solomon. This is the Fifth Pinnacle of the Moon. You want to be careful when you're using this one, and when I read the description you'll see why. The Fifth Pinnacle of the Moon, it serves to have answers in sleep. Its angel, Hecate, serveth unto destruction and loss, as well as unto the destruction of enemies. Thou may call upon him by Abdon and Dale, against all phantoms of the night, and to summon the souls of the departed from Hades. So it's really just the last part that we want to utilize when we're working with the Fifth Pinnacle of the Moon for this purpose. But as you heard in the description, this is also something that you can use for baneful magic and curse work, as well as to protect you from evil spirits. The editor's note: the divine names Yahweh and Elohim, a mystical character of the moon, and the names of the angels Hecate and Azrael. The versicle is from Psalm: let God arise and let his enemies be scattered. Let them also who hate him flee before him. The Fifth Pinnacle of the Moon is one that can really help. It also does, once again, help you with getting answers in your sleep. So there is a psychic aspect of it as well, with dream divination. But definitely it can be used to, once again, summon the souls of the departed from Hades. So you can use it for necromantic work as well, and necromantic magic. So those are what I would say, what I would advise are the top main spirits and the pinnacles as well that you would want to utilize for necromancy and necromantic witchcraft. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below in the comments. Don't forget, I also have my Patreon active now, so you can go join that if you want more advanced courses on witchcraft and magic in general, and some of the most powerful workings that I have learned from Goddess Hecate I have shared there. So if you're interested in taking your magic to, more advanced levels, definitely look into joining my Patreon for all of that. As always, until next time, hail Hecate, hail to the witches, and blessed be.